ولا نخاف بقولة الحق لومة لائم. لا خايفين من المجتمع الدولي وبتقولوا لنا منظمات ومش عارف ايش وان راهم بيراقبونا وان احنا مش عارف. ندعمه في القضية الفلسطينية وندعمه في المقاومة، ولا بالنسبة عن نفسي أنا مانيش متردد فيها نهائيا. ندعمه في المقاومة، يتابع المجتمع الدولي، سفرات مش عارف ايش. لا هذا كيف تدعم في المقاومة؟ ندعم فيها. أنا عندي دولة تدعم فيها قلبا وقالبا، ومثل ما تفضل أخي عبد السلام أمس مظاهرات، ونؤمن بهذه القضية الصغير قبل الكبير. وفي أشياء أخرى ممكن ما فيش داعي واحد يتحدث عليها حتى تقوم بها في دولتي، إنها تعتبر نوع من المزايدة وهذا شيء، وهذا واجب أصلا. وسوف نقدم كل ما نملك تجاه القضية الفلسطينية. أقسم بالله العظيم لو في آلية لفتح الحدود، أقسم بالله وأنا مسؤول عن كلامي، وكلكم تعرفوا الوضع اللي في ليبيا، علينا نعمل السلاح اللي في ليبيا كله نقلوا لي غزة، وقاعدين مقاتلين عندنا كلهم موجودين ومتدربين. لو في آلية لفتح الحدود وأنا مسؤول عن كلامي، وتواصلوا معنا الشباب تعتبروهم قوات أمنية كتائب لم تستقر ليبيا حاليا في الوضع اللي هي فيه، لو في آلية لفتح الحدود سوف نقاتل في غزة ونقاتل مع أخوتنا في فلسطين.
Spoken to Sky News and given one of the most chilling interviews I've ever seen.
What's the view on the humanitarian crisis in Gaza this morning?
There is no humanitarian crisis because
there isn't.
There is no. Israel is in charge of the safety of the Israelis. Hamas is in charge of the safety of the Palestinians.
There is no humanitarian crisis in Gaza, and Hamas is responsible for the safety of Palestinians. Now, Israeli bombs have already killed almost 800 children in Gaza. Israel has shut off running water to 2 million people in Gaza. Israel has also shut off the electricity supply, meaning the desalination plants can't function, so there's no other way to get water in Gaza. Journalists, medics and UN workers are being killed. Yet there's no humanitarian crisis. No humanitarian crisis. This is not a fringe pundit. This is the Israeli ambassador to the UK. This is the representative of the Israeli government to the UK who is saying there is no humanitarian crisis in Gaza. It's completely sick, and it actually gets worse.
We've been showing pictures this morning that would illustrate that there is a humanitarian crisis in Gaza.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Are you a mother?
Yes.
What would you think if your children would have been executed in front of your eyes? Would you expect your government to think about those Nazis committing those crimes and to say, wait a second, first of all, we need to protect the enemy, and then to protect my children? Your children come as priority to your prime minister.
Does the Israeli ambassador not think that Palestinians also have children? Right? Are there not Palestinian mothers who care deeply about their kids? Or is Zippy Hotovely suggesting every man, woman and child in Gaza is a Nazi? Because if she is, that's the language of genocide. No, when Vladimir Putin says that kind of thing, our whole media rightly says that's the language of genocide. When he says Ukrainians are Nazis, so they're fair game, we think that's the language of genocide, and the mainstream media thinks that's the language of genocide. When an Israeli ambassador says it, that's normal. That's normal. That's sickening. That's disgusting. Let's go to another moment in the interview.
Never in the past we had such a clear-cut war of good versus evil, of people that are slaughtering babies versus people that are protecting their children in a shelter. Everyone saw the Israeli parents protecting the children in the shelters, and everyone saw the horrific footages of those beheaded babies, this horrors that created by Hamas terrorists. So this is such a clear-cut war.
Now, we haven't all seen footage of babies being beheaded, right? No international media outlet has confirmed it happened. It's not a question, oh, if no babies were beheaded, that means what Hamas did was fine. Absolutely not. But if you are the Israeli ambassador, right, then when you are going on the television, you should say stuff which is verified, which has evidence. You can't just go on there and say everyone has seen this when no one has seen this, right? Or maybe someone in the world has seen it, I don't know, but no international media has verified this, which means that I've got no reason to think it's true, right? It's also true, she says, Israeli mothers were protecting their babies in shelters. That was awful. These are awful things. I have every sympathy for Israeli mothers sheltering their kids in shelters. Does Zippy Hotovely not think Palestinian mothers also protect their babies when they are being attacked, right? It's not just Israelis protecting their babies. They're also Palestinians protecting their babies, right? They're less likely to have shelters, in fact. And they are being bombed by one of the most powerful militaries in the world, day after day after day after day. Again, remember, this isn't just a fringe pundit on right-wing TV. This is Israel's official representative to the UK.
Do you condemn what Hamas did inside Israel to Israeli civilians?
Will you condemn the onslaught by Hamas?
Will you condemn this atrocity by Hamas?
When the BBCs and the Skies and the CNNs and all the mainstream media insist on this question for 3 times, 4 times, 6 times, 7 times, this is not because they don't know that we do actually condemn. This is so they frame the whole conversation. And the lack and the failure of the same institutions, media, international mainstream, to ask the very same question to the actual instigators of violence, which is the occupation. Is this for discussion that it is the occupier that instigates violence? Do I need to convince anybody that military occupation robs you of your humanity and of your identity and of your rights, let alone colonization and apartheid and besiegement? And then in all these interviews, Israeli spokespeople, ministers, officials, what have you, are never asked that question. Why? Why? Tell you why. Because some in the international media are so adamant in portraying the Palestinian people in an apolitical, ahistorical snapshot. Let's catch this. And I said it on all these interviews. Did you invite me when 200 Palestinian innocent people were killed by militias in the West Bank? Why do you always invite me when the snapshot suits your narrative, suits the frame that you want to put for us, suits the box you want to box us in?
People keep asking me to do is condemn Hamas. I will condemn Hamas when Piers Morgan condemns Israel. How about that? I will do it when Jordan Peterson condemns bombing of hospitals and ambulances and schools. I will condemn Hamas when Ben Shapiro condemns the people that use fake images to pretend that there was killings of children and babies, when really you're the one that are bombing babies and children, because Gaza is 50% is under 15. So don't ever think you can bully me into saying anything. That's never going to happen. I'm not going to condemn Hamas any faster than you guys are going to condemn Israel. When you do that, I'll do it. Sounds childish? Cool. I'll be a child.
If and when Hamas is removed from the Gaza Strip in the next few days or weeks, what do you think will replace Hamas? What's the plan there?
Do you think Hamas will be removed from the Gaza Strip? Do you know what Hamas is? Hamas is a big movement. Hamas has a military wing and has an armed wing. And Hamas has institutions. Hamas has government, which they, of course, shelled and destroyed, all the ministries. Hamas has a women's movement, has a student movement. It is part of the very fabric of Palestinian life. How are they going to remove it? Excuse me, are they going to kill all these people? And are they going to undermine Hamas in their own people's eyes? No. If you ask the people of Gaza, they say, at least somebody stood up for us. Somebody stood up and did something. And they don't understand that by escalating violence, by killing more Palestinians, they are not weakening Hamas. They are weakening the other side. They are weakening the PLO, and they are weakening all the people who embarked on a negotiations path, and who said, all we have to do is be nice, and the world will sit up and listen.
Piers, listen. I'm not saying that you're making an excuse, but if you are adopting a certain point of view, you have to at least defend it. I'm telling you, there is no Hamas in the West Bank. What is the excuse? Not your excuse. What is the excuse to kill those people?